Welcome, thank you for tuning in. Now, first things first, I do have an announcement about my forthcoming book, Gathering Time, but I won't reveal all just yet, just ask you to please stay tuned and I'll give a bit more information towards the end of this video. Now, this particular woodland I was in quite recently, enjoyed a couple of hours wandering around on a still morning and made a couple of images which I quite like, so I just wanted to revisit them because there were some elements within those images which I think are worth discussing. So yeah, another beautiful afternoon, almost completely still, which is what I like. Still some lovely autumn colours lingering. So yeah, let's go enjoy a brief wander. So this is my first composition, which is really quite simple but has some beautiful elements to it. We've got this bold, characterful oak tree on the left-hand side, still some lingering, rich autumn leaves on there. We have a hazel tree with these fantastic, vibrant, soft yellow leaves. And in the background, you might be able to see those slender alder trees. Now, I've made images in the past where people have commented on the mist or the fog when in fact there wasn't any. And this is exactly what's happening today. It's completely clear. But because of the contrast in tone, because we're using the opposite valley side, there's very little happening in the background in terms of rich autumn colour. We just have this cool, almost grey-like consistency in the colour right across the background. And that's really helping these foreground elements to stand out. So it's a contrast of colour, it's also a contrast of species with the alders back there. And it just gives this kind of sense of this misty haziness when in fact there isn't any. Everything's set against a background which is actually very detailed and intricate, but because of the consistency in tone and colour, it just looks quite soft. And that's what initially drew me to this, and I think it works really, really well. Simple composition, just let the subjects do the talking. I've made a couple of different options here, so I'll show both and see what you think. See if you can get that sense of very slight sort of hazy mistiness in the background. I was speaking to a client recently about how to see in woodland, or any landscape photography for that matter, what enables some photographers to translate visual complexity into a meaningful composition, perhaps complex but cohesive, or simple yet striking. The same guy was using a latest and greatest medium format camera, but had spent years agonizing over the sharpness of poorly composed images. Yet on the flip side, I've got a friend who's using a camera that's 9 years old, but continues to create world-class, well-considered and refined images. I see it all the time, you know, photographers who progress the most as craftsmen in the field are those who prioritize connecting with what's in front of them until they're better than the gear that they're using and they need new tools to aid their creativity. We've become so disconnected from nature. We treat it as somewhere that we visit, we use it, we treat it as a commodity. But as photographers, we need to feel part of it because it is so very much a part of us. Seeing isn't about megapixels and apertures, it's about empathy and awareness. Everything here has a part to play in a composition. Every branch, leaf, frond of bracken, colour, space, light. Obsess over that, use this. This is a tool and is the only thing that should be used. Care about that, use this. Woodland is a visual puzzle and it can be very difficult to make all the pieces fit. It's why prescriptive formulas don't really work. It's a communion with nature that needs to excite you. It's excitement, care, meticulous attention to detail, curiosity and time that's going to open your eyes. I promise you that. I've been a woodland photographer for several years, and some of the gear that I use is very valuable to my workflow, but it means absolutely nothing if you can enjoy, see and translate an idea. Needless to say, this video is not sponsored by Sony or any other camera brand, but yeah, this is just something that I kind of wanted to get off my chest. But let's go and make another photograph and keep on wandering. Speaking of complexity, there's definitely a sense of that to this scene here. You can probably see branches coming in from different directions, slightly chaotic, and it's actually that drew me to this scene in the first instance. There's also a wonderful combination and balance of colour. We've got this green foundation of the ferns that transitions into the rusty base of dying bracken. We've still got some lingering leaves in the treetops. Wonderful sense of light as the soft light comes in from the opening in the canopy, hits the inside of the trees here. We've got these two birch trees which converge at the top. We have an oak tree back there which comes up, arches over. Lovely gesture towards the silver birch down there. And then we've got another oak branch which comes up and then shoots into the scene from the top, quite aggressively actually. It's very kind of dominant in a way, and is particularly combined with the other branches that are shooting in from the left-hand side. There's something quite menacing, almost like a sense of conflict, because some of these branches are so strong and defined and sharp that it feels as if everything's just ganging up on that birch back there. And that stands out really well too because of the light bark set against the golden leaves of the oak tree back there, some wonderful moss on the branch. But it just feels as if it's got its arms up and it's fleeing down the hillside. So yeah, the sense of kind of tension and conflict is kind of at odds with the experience, because there's a lovely soft autumn colours, there's a sense of peace because there's no wind, but the dynamic shapes in this definitely gives me that feeling of tension and conflict. So the key thing here is not bringing in too much, and it's having those branches just creeping in on the edges, so as I start to work my eyes around the scene, I'm seeing a square image, and that brings all the elements that I think are needed to kind of portray the sense of what I'm seeing here. So yeah, enjoy that. 35mm prime lens, gets in everything that I want. See what you think. So before I make one last image, I just wanted to announce that my book, Gathering Time, is now available to pre-order through my website. It has been printed, it's currently at the binders, and I expect to receive the first copies in early December. I've been making all the preparations at my end so that I can get them back out the door as quickly as possible and hopefully get them to you in time for Christmas. Now there's 3 different editions. There's the standard hardback edition. There's the signature edition, which is a signed book presented in a slipcase, and there's also the collector's edition, which is a signed book in a slipcase, but also within your choice of an A3 print, presented in a lovely embossed presentation box. There's only 100 of the signature edition and 100 of the collector's edition, so please be quick if one of those takes your fancy. But yeah, please take a look. I'm really excited to share it with you all. There's images from the past 6 years in there. Some nice little stories, anecdotes, lots of my own writing, beautiful foreword by Joe Cornish, fantastic expressive piece of writing from Lucy Jones as well. But yeah, I mean, it's hopefully it's going to make a big difference in supporting my business and this channel throughout next year. So yeah, please take a look. Your support is massively appreciated. Right, let's make one last photograph. On the face of it, this is quite a simple image, just a portrait of this fantastic oak tree, but as with any photograph, it still needs that attention to detail. Now, I made an image 3 mornings ago, and there was some beautiful mist driving here, but none in the woodland. But there was a sense of a haze, and when that haze gets backlit, it does give a feeling of mist. And the sun was just shining through the valley and gave a lovely positive feeling to this. Fantastic kind of bold, gnarly mood to the oak tree, but set against that feeling of warming light coming down through the valley was really nice. Now, coming in from the bottom left of the image is the stream, and that's just sort of slightly obscured that because you can get a hint of it as it disappears down through the valley. I didn't use a polarizer, I didn't want to cut through the natural shimmer on the beck because I quite like that, and I wanted to kind of keep that ethereal quality of that sense of soft light coming down through the valley. So yeah, it had quite a nice sort of positive vibe to it. The tree itself is kind of anchored over on the left side as well, because for me it needs that feeling of space over on the right hand side to get that calming quality, but also to show that this tree kind of overhangs and has an obscured but nonetheless quite privileged view of looking down the valley over the beck here. So yeah, a 5x4. Pretty straightforward, bringing out the wonderful qualities of these little ferns that grow on the trunk of the oak tree, and yeah, for a change, some nice calming and positivity to the light in the scene. That's Meg and I done for this episode. Hope you enjoyed the sentiments that are included in the usual woodland composition walkthroughs. I'll include a link to my book in the description below, but it's easy to find through my website at baxter.photos. But thank you very much for watching this episode, and I hope to see you again very soon.